Hey, Russ Rogers here from the 17 Laws Studio, and today I want to talk about how to get your marriage out of a rut or keep your marriage from getting into a rut. This will be a shorter show than normal, but it's super important. If your marriage is in a rut or headed that way, you'll love this show today. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to avoid a rut in my marriage. My wife and I have committed to keeping the romance alive in our marriage and in turn keeping our marriage alive. Today, I'm not going to talk about just the romance side. I'm not talking really just about sex if your sex life is in a rut. However, if your sex life is in a rut in your marriage, then all this other stuff is certainly a factor. For those of you who want to talk about your sex life and intimacy, well, you're in luck. I'm working on a series to address this from all angles. As I'm putting this series together, I'm not holding back on what I'm going to talk about. So stay tuned, and that's coming around the early summer of 2021. Now, I do have an entire chapter in my book, my 17 Laws of Marriage book, dedicated to intimacy that will help your sex life in a big way. But the series coming up will be much more in depth. I'm not going to leave any topic left for your imagination. Okay, back to this show. Our kids have been growing up, getting married, moving out, and moving away. And we've been brainstorming about what we could do for fun together. And I came up with what I considered a scathingly brilliant idea. What I didn't want to do is grow into the habit of coming home, watching TV, going to bed. We've never been a real family of TV watchers, but I didn't want to get into the rut with our marriage, so I was trying to be proactive. My idea was to buy a tandem bike. Yes, a tandem bike. Now, when I presented this idea to Tracy, she thought I was kidding and she burst out laughing like you probably did when you heard this. Now, I reminded her how much fun we had when we rented a tandem bike on vacations at the beach. She figured out finally that I was actually serious and seemed at least open to listening to my stupid idea as we headed down to the local bike shop. Well, what Tracy didn't know was that I'd already given it a ton of thought and had gone overboard on research to find the perfect bike. Well, consistent with how my research usually pans out, absolutely none of it came in handy. But we did leave the bike store as proud owners of a brand new tandem bike. And my goal was to find something fun, something we could do together, and something that wasn't typical. This has worked out so well because I'm happy to report that we've enjoyed quite a few miles on our new bike. And if it's nice outside, the idea of riding the bike comes to in the conversation. We quickly learn that teamwork is required. The rider in the back exercises their trust to the driver in the front. Both riders have to pedal, but if one tires, it's possible to pull more of your own weight for a while if you need to. And I can assure you, if you are on a tandem bike, your marriage is not in a rut. When we go out to eat, we're always chatting with each other. And I hate it when I look around the restaurant and I see so many couples who are just sitting in silence, just staring at the walls or whatever, or they're sitting there staring at their phones. I hate that. I want to go over there and say, put down your phones, enjoy each other. Well, sometimes we're at a restaurant, we'll say, okay, we can't leave the restaurant until we see someone who looks like someone else. For example, hey, he looks like George Clooney, or hey, she looks like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. All this just to have fun, staying out of the rut. Sometimes we'll look around the room and play the game of who they are and what they do for a living, how long they've been married, that sort of thing. We'll say something like, oh, he's definitely a football coach. She's an English teacher. They met in college. Her favorite hobby is painting. He's got this place in the garage where he makes his own beer. They have three girls, two love basketball, and the other loves ballet. Again, this is just stuff to have fun with each other. Now, do you remember dating, getting to know each other, doing super random, crazy, fun things, never tiring of each other, never tiring of trying to try something new, and romance was always in there. You were never in a rut when you were dating. So that's what I'm talking about. Getting back to that. There are a bunch of things that will keep you on the right track, but there are three glaring enemies that will keep you in a rut. And I want to quickly discuss those. And one is One big area in your life keeping your marriage in a rut is revolving your lives around your kids so much that your marriage is put on hold. This is more the norm than people would like to hear, but I'm going to address that one in another show. So the second one is the enemy. The next enemy is getting out of a rut is your television. We do not have a TV in a bedroom. We don't have one on our main floor. We also don't have cable. For the last 30 years, we've either watched something that was recorded or we'd find something else to do. More times than not, something else to do won out. Now, I've never seen Survivor, so I don't know what it's like to be voted off an island. I've never seen The Voice. Somehow, in spite of me being deprived of such quality shows, I've managed to function as a human. And admittedly, thanks to the internet, we do manage to watch some college football or basketball and do some other sporting events. And we definitely enjoy our watching our TV. We have our favorite shows. We have for years hosted movie nights at our house. What we don't have in our home is where everything revolves around the TV. Okay, the other enemy I wanted to share with you that will keep you in a rut is your phone. If you are staring at your phone while you're with your spouse, shame on you. When this is happening, you are screaming to your spouse that whatever is on that screen is more important than you. I promise you, it will be a little weird finding something else to do other than watching TV or browsing your phone, but rest assured, you will soon enjoy how much your marriage improves. You'll never regret saying to your spouse, "Come on, let's go for a walk," and leave our phones at home. You'll never regret that. If it's too cold outside for a walk, then you can say, "Hey, let's go for a drive." And if it's snowing like crazy, we still go for a drive. I'm a bit odd because I prefer being out in the snow driving around. Tracy and I have done this many times. We drive around town, we talk to each other. We can share, or I can share with you without any hesitation, that we have never regretted doing these fun things. Although buying a tandem bike costs money and driving around burn up a little gas, but I'm happy to report that getting out of the rut doesn't have to cost any money whatsoever. Eat out on the porch tonight. Have a candlelight dinner in the bedroom. Take your kids to grandma's and surprise your husband and wife with a date night. Go for a walk, a swim, a hike, or sit on the swing for a while. Spread out a blanket in the backyard, lay on your back, stare at the stars, and talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. Or if it's raining, do it anyway because that's fun too. Hey, if you're still breathing, you are not too old for this. And if you don't have a backyard, put the blanket in your living room, turn out the lights, and pretend you're outside and staring at the stars. And again, what you're attempting to do is to find time together and do something new to keep your marriage alive. And you are not too old for this. I promise you this. Again, sometimes we stay an extra hour in a restaurant just to find someone and say, "Hey, he looks like Tom Cruise," or "He looks like Kronk on the Emperor's New Groove." "Oh, that's that guy from the Addams Family." It could go on for hours. And sometimes you'll find us wandering around Lowe's without spending a penny just thinking about all the stuff we could do to our house. This is how the rut happens. You come home from work, you eat dinner, both of you are tired, both of you want to sit and do nothing. So you do exactly that. You sit and do nothing. 5 years later, you're doing the same thing. What I'm suggesting is that although you're tired, get out, do something, even if you're tired and don't feel like it. I would bet anybody part that in 10 years later, that 10 years from now, you will always wish you had watched less TV and done more of what I'm talking about. I assure you that you will wish you had invested more time in your marriage by getting out and doing something. And if your children come home or your best friend drops by and asks you to do something, you're always inclined to do so. Why wouldn't you do that with your spouse? And if you're in the rut, coming home, watching TV until you go to bed, then you're certainly not investing in each other. Here's something else that you'll never regret. I don't think you'll ever regret missing some TV shows. I am proof that you can go your whole life and never watch Dancing with the Stars and somehow be okay. I don't feel left out. I don't think I need therapy. I don't think I've missed out on life. And I don't think I'll be on my deathbed saying, "Wow, if I'd only watched one more episode." my life would have been complete. No, that's not how it works. To get out of the rut, you're going to have to get out and do something different. An old Chinese proverb is this, one of my favorites. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time to plant a tree is today. I would suggest that today be the day that you do something different with your spouse, even if you don't feel like it. Not that feeling like it is not acceptable excuse unless you truly have a life-altering illness. But this could be as easy as leaving a note somewhere where they would see it. Maybe a little sexy text. It may be sending flowers. It may be coming home for lunch just for 5 minutes to say I love you or say hi or whatever else you have time to do. It could certainly be a walk after dinner, a trip to visit someone, a walk around the local mall if you have one, or a simple drive with all the windows down and the sunroof open. Honestly, I so enjoyed just rolling down all the windows, getting back to sunroof, and cranking up Zach Brown, Morgan Wallen, Lee Bryce, Kenny Chesney, and some Billy Currington. Tracy and I both work long hours. We have 4 children. Nevertheless, we have found new ways to accomplish this through our marriage in staying out of a rut. If anyone wants to use excuses, we don't have time, our kids are too small, I have to call foul on that. Not true. Now, your actions reflect what you truly think is important, and if carving out some time for each other to get out of the rut is important, you'll do that. If you don't think it's that important, you'll probably hang on to those excuses, so it'll never happen. As you spend more time together, you will probably find out that you miss each other when you're not around, and you enjoy each other's company more than you ever remembered. You may find yourself saying what Tracy and I have noticed recently. I think we see each other more than we ever have, and we also can't wait until we get to spend more time together. Now, recently, we found an open weekend on the calendar, and we decided to make it a date weekend. We decided whatever we did, we couldn't go anywhere we've been in the last 5 years, and we couldn't eat dinner anywhere where we've eaten in the past 5 years. And considering we live in a small town, we really had to get our creative juices flowing. Well, that weekend turned out to be one of the most special weekends we've ever enjoyed. We found ourselves at the top of a mountain overlooking a valley that we never knew existed. We visited new places, found ourselves meeting some of the most interesting people. We ate at restaurants it never crossed our minds to eat there. Within a few days of typing this, Tracy and I committed that the next time we have an opportunity, we're going to do this again. And I love this quote by Gary Smalley. You have to take control of your life, stop being a victim of your past, and start moving on to something new. You have to make a choice. You have to change, even when the change is scary. If you're in a rut, plan something today to get out. Put the fun and romance back in your marriage. You can do so without spending any money. You can see that the rut is looming in the background. Get out and plan something today and prevent it. Don't be the couple staring at their phones in the restaurant. As promised, I'm keeping this one short. So be sure to follow me here and check me out on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Check me out at the17laws.com, and be sure to check out the Marriage Commitment Challenge coin. We may not be perfect, but we do a pretty amazing job of helping families.